So this is a bit of a video response to the Fantasy Asians vs Jungle Asians from Off the Great Wall. So first of all, I'd like to commend their videos. I really like that they make videos which really go into like identity and that, and I think that as a progress, they've really gone more into that type of like that conversation that I think we do need to have. I think that it's good because all the people watching it's a lot of good information. There's a lot of good activism going on that really promotes that type of thinking. Essentially, that video talks about how fast Asians, typically East Asians, and there's that discourse with them, and then Southeast Asians, typically known as in that video Jungle Asian. Now, the reason why those names came out, whether you like it or not, whether it's controversial or not, came from Ali Wong's comedy spiel talking about that. Now, this video focuses more on the East Asian, so it does include South Asian as well, obviously. For all other, like, I guess, Asian backgrounds, South Asian, Central Asian, Middle East, again, I'm not the platform to speak about that because I am not of that background, but if you want to share your views, please share your views. I think that will be really good to have your insight as well, and how you can relate to these feelings. Now, essentially, everyone knows about East Asia. We all know about K-pop. We all know about anime. We all know about Chinese food. It is everywhere. And it's there. There are just so many Korean restaurants, Japanese restaurants, Chinese restaurants, and that's just food. Of course, there's a long way to go in terms of Asian representation as a whole, but when you compare that to like Southeast Asian representation, the view of like East Asia is a lot more positive, not just with non-Asian communities, but even within the Asian community itself. They're often seen with the good traits of being Asian, the white skin and the being, like richer countries, and again being a developed society. And whereas East Asia is typically known as being poor, the developing nation stereotype, the prostitute stereotype, the drug stereotype. And yes, there is corruption in all these countries, but at the same time, our countries are not this one-dimensional view. And as a Chinese Cambodian, so I do share this similarity in a sense with Mia and Felicia, where they're both Chinese background, but their families are raised in like Southeast Asian countries. There is a difference, and of course, if I'm in Cambodia, I have a different situation because then I am seen as not being Cambodian because of my light skin. And skin color is such a big thing in Asia, and I think in many parts of the world, where the lighter your skin is, the more attractive you are viewed as, which is quite a problematic thing if you think about it, because obviously there are so many good-looking people with darker skin, but yet don't feel that way because they want to be lighter skinned. And I think that's a mentality that has come from a long time, from back when it was associated with being, like farmers and poverty. It's a thinking that has continued and stayed into this modern context. And whatever that shape it comes in, it's still very ugly and still a very classist type of mentality. So, moving along, as a Chinese Cambodian, I see myself as Cambodian first. My family were very Cambodianized. They grew up in a town called Battambong, and well, actually, my mum did. My father grew up in a town called Kapong Spu, so very rural areas. So despite being Chinese, they were always surrounded by by other Cambodians, and because of that, they were born in Cambodia. They just saw themselves as Cambodian. A lot of Chinese Cambodians will call themselves as Cambodian first and foremost, or because ultimately Chinese people were better accepted into Cambodia than countries such as Indonesia or Vietnam or Malaysia, where there were a lot of riots against Chinese people, and that's just that's a situation specific to each country. But in regards to Cambodia, and I would say Thailand and now, the Chinese people were just well better accepted. And my family speak Cambodian at home. We eat Cambodian food. We celebrate Cambodian traditions. it's just a very community house with, a few Chinese traditions involved. So basically, I celebrate three cultures on top of including being an Australian. Um, this is where it gets a little tricky because then that thinking comes up you know, because I don't look like I'm Cambodian in the stereotypical way. Uh, I don't really come across as looking Chinese as some people. So I've always grown up with a very ambiguous look. So even to the Asian community myself, people cannot really pick out my heritage and my nationality. Even when they hear my language, it is very confusing because even my Chinese, I don't speak Mandarin. I speak a dialect which not many people know about called Teochew. So it's poised me in a very unique spot where people playing a guessing game. That happens. I think within Asian communities, the reality is, we do this guessing game of like, oh, what's your background, and it's in good fun, but it is very contextual. It's very much in a situation with certain people, we do it, and that's just what it is, and we don't let that judgment take control our understanding that person, that we still see them as a full-rounded person. Obviously, when it becomes a stereotype and it's a limiting stereotype where people completely judge on that, okay, that's a problem. And there's elements of it being problematic, and I think that like something that I as a person I need to work on. We really have to go beyond that border a little bit. Nevertheless, it was interesting because in this video, they invited this man called Pawi, who's a Filipino, and he has no Chinese blood in him. He is Filipino. He is a representation of Southeast Asia, and it's interesting because they also talked about Filipino stereotypes and the fact that a lot of Filipinos are just not seen as being Asian. They're just like, oh, are you Pacific Island? Are you Asian? There is that question when when really like it's Asian. I don't understand that mentality, but at the end of the day, like I'm not Filipino. I'm not gonna. My opinion doesn't really matter in that sense. It's up to Filipinos. But from what I see them as in that way, both actually Asian, more Asian to me, and Pacific Island, but again more Asian to me. But ultimately, we don't have the right really at the end of the day to dictate what they are and what they aren't, because that's for them to self-actualize. And if if a Filipino person comes up to you and says, "Yeah, I'm Asian," well, they just shush because they're in the continent, really, if you think about it. So there's a humongous sharing of culture. Yes, the borders of Asia are, there are parts of it which are, have gone through so many debates and discussions. But it's really interesting, and I think Pawi in this video mentioned how he said, being as an Asian, and I think that the fact that it was in the video shows that, he says he's Asian. I think that's something because a lot of my Filipino friends have talked about, that debate, and they all have also been Asian. And of course, I completely agree with them. I think that there's a shared culture, shared history that we both follow. As like for me as a Cambodian, for them as a Filipino, there is a lot of things that we can relate to, and I think that's really wonderful, actually. And I think that what I would love to see is Southeast Asia being more represented in Western media, in Asia itself, and not being so looked down upon because we have such beautiful cultures. I think that as a Cambodian, our music is amazing, especially from the 60s and that. It's just so, I love it. I feel so proud of it, and I really want that to be seen by the world. I love like the Thai language. I think Thai language is so beautiful and it's so nice, and the people are actually so friendly, and it's more than just this game of like Phuket and the prostitution involved. I think that Thai people are I love their religions. I love their spirituality. I think that should be the thing that people recognize Thai for, not for like all that negative things. Vietnam is amazing in that sense because it's such the landscape of the country is amazing. The food is so diverse. The people are so hardworking, I find. Again, this is just off the bat, but you know, like I said this about the rest of Southeast Asia, but we aren't just known for all the negatives. We have such positive things as well, and I think that we need to break away from this niggling negative mentality and actually realize that, hey, we're actually like part of amazing communities. And it's not to say that this should negatively affect East Asia at all. No, there are things that in East Asia that should be there, and I think that I guess it's a matter of like a chasing up to those countries because they've had time to develop and been able to make the time to promote itself and be out there. And I think that what we can see in essence is also how we can promote ourselves, and not in the way that, in a more positive way, not in the way which I guess with Japan with its soft power, its promote itself, its anime, and we've seen the problem with like a lot of weeaboos coming down to Japan and really having unrealistic expectations of Japan. I think that Southeast Asia can really learn from that and not go through those mistakes while it is coming up in the world. At the same time, I think this discussion and this is a discussion that can go on for a long time, and I could go on for a long time indeed, but this is just a bit of what I think, and I hope that you can find something that makes you question things, or maybe makes you want to ask a question yourself. So if you have anything to say, please feel free to leave a comment below. And once again, thank you to Off the Great Wall. You're a great channel. I love watching all of you guys. Really thought-provoking questions and topics that you talk about. So yeah, thanks so much.